When I attended the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Canada, it was beautiful. They had this national series of conferences, had almost an open mic, because their Truth and Reconciliation Commission came out of their history and a lawsuit brought by residential school survivors, boarding school survivors, against the church and the state. And so as part of their TRC, they had these huge conferences, and at these conferences, it was almost an open mic, where anyone could come in who had a history in the residential schools, either personally or in their family, and they could come forward and tell the story. And the theme I heard time and time and time again was someone, usually my age, they would come forward and say something to the effect of, my grandmother was in a boarding school. She was raped and abused by the priest. She abused my mother, and my mother abused me. We've never shared this story in our family before, but I've just had my first child. And I'm convinced, determined, I'm not going to pass on this legacy of abuse, so I am standing here sharing this story. This beautiful grasping for healing by telling the truth. And the representatives from the churches and the government listening, they could not respond. They couldn't justify themselves, they couldn't defend themselves. They had to sit there and listen to these stories, and many of them were heart-wrenchingly horrifying. And at the end, then they gave the churches and the government representatives a chance to come forward, not to defend themselves, not to justify themselves, but to make commitments of reconciliation. Now that they've heard these truths, what are they going to do to move forward to make sure these things never happen again? It was absolutely beautiful.